Thank you to the sponsor of today's video, ArtBeat Studios. ArtBeat specializes in printing high-quality metal, canvas, and acrylic prints. Make sure to check out the link down in the description if you're a photographer that wants to print your work.
What is going on, guys? In this video, I'm out in the beautiful Death Valley National Park. It's early February as it stands right now, and there was just a ton of rain here in the valley over the last week or so. I'm out here trying to capture some interesting and unique conditions. There's always unique conditions here in Death Valley, but especially after some nice rain. I may also go over into the Eastern Sierra. This is the first day of my trip. I don't know exactly all what it is going to entail yet, but I do know there's going to be a lot of shooting going on. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome as well. Super excited to be here today. Right now, it's about sunset, I would say. We're probably about an hour to an hour and a half away. I'd have to check the time again. But I'm out here shooting on this hill, looking down at some sand dunes, and I'm using a brand new lens. I just picked up this 150 to 600. It's a Sigma lens for my Sony camera. Not sponsored. Don't know if it's good yet or not. So far, so good, but this is my first time using it. And I'm out here shooting these nice compressed telephoto scenes. Now, there is some good clouds in the sky tonight, so I'm hoping there's not a super great sunset that I should have gone somewhere else and shot a wider angle scene for, but I'm really liking the nice dappled light that is being provided right now. So I'm able to get lots of shots of the dunes from really far away. I'm zoomed into like 500 or 600 millimeters, so I'm way zoomed in. I'm really far away. I can hardly even see what it is that I'm shooting until I look through the camera lens. But I'm able to capture some really nice shots. Now, when I'm after a shot like this, essentially what I'm looking for is something in my scene that stands out. I've got a few images that I think show that off really well. Now, the cool thing about it out here right now is that the dunes have these like cool streaks on them, which I think is from all of the rain that has hit. So it's providing some unique conditions. I wasn't expecting that. And when I first got here, I was kind of bummed about it, but I think it actually does look pretty cool. One of my favorite shots so far is this one here. You can see I've got this like nice bush right in the center, which really kind of helps to, I guess, bring the image together. It gives kind of a central, like a focal point. And then I've got a couple other good images where, you know, I've just got some sand dunes that are nice rolling hills that don't really have a great focal point, but they're really evenly weighted images. That's really important when you're shooting something like this. I want to go for an image that is really evenly weighted. I don't want like a super big, super heavy dune on one side and then no dunes on the other side. You want everything to stay nice and balanced. You want to get rid of as many distracting elements as possible. Some of my other shots where I zoomed out a little bit, I've got like bushes that are kind of in the foreground. They're distracting, they're not exciting. I want to get rid of all of those. So I want to make sure I'm just shooting what's really, really interesting. So that's what I'm up to tonight. I'll continue to show you some photos as the conditions kind of unfold here. And then I'll show you some photos also from the rest of my trip and the whole experience. So we'll see how this all gets put together. I'm really excited. Thank you for being here. And here we go, guys. Now, as the sun gets lower in the sky, the light continues to get better. It's looking really nice right now, actually, and we've still got a little bit of ways to go, so I think it's going to get better. It's really hard to visualize what I'm shooting right now, probably because it's so far away. Maybe if I duck here, you can see exactly what I'm shooting. It's super far in the background. It's those sand dunes way out there. I don't know if the camera will refocus and it'll show you or not, but that's what I'm shooting tonight. All right, well, we had a really good period of sunlight coming through, and then now finally the clouds have kind of rolled in a little heavier in the direction of the sun, and the sun is no longer shining. So really happy with what I got tonight. I got quite a few good shots where I played with a few different things. And I'm thinking I honestly might come back up to the spot tomorrow in the morning. For a shot like this, it's really nice to be able to come back multiple times, especially if one is in the evening and one is in the morning, because the light will be totally different. I may see totally different things that are accentuated, different bushes, different curves, different lines, because right now the sun is setting to, it would be camera left from where you're looking at this. In the morning, the sun is going to be rising from camera right, that direction. And so the light from the right side is going to hit a little bit differently than it does from the left and provide a little bit different of a photo opportunity. So I'm going to come back up here, try that again, and then we'll probably move on to another spot. Hopefully we need a little bit of sunlight in the morning. It really helps to add a lot of depth. I cannot believe how much the light changed over when I got here. The light was pretty flat. And then when the sunlight hit, it just totally changes the scene, makes it totally different. Now the flat light does look pretty interesting. It's a really low contrast, I guess low key as they call it, image. And then when the sunlight hits, it creates a lot higher of a contrast, a little bit stronger saturation. So I ended up liking both shots. I'll probably process both of them and we'll see what I like from there. It's really hard to tell on the back of the camera screen what's going to end up better. It's way easier when you get home in front of the computer. So we're gonna head to bed, look at some of these shots tonight maybe, and then tomorrow morning we're gonna be back right up here again, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more great light. So you guys can probably tell it is the morning now. I ended up back in the same spot that I was in last night. Pretty happy I came up here, honestly thinking maybe I should have went to the other side of the park, but we're still hopefully gonna get some good shots up here. You can see we've got this nice, really soft light. The clouds are kind of broken in the east, the direction the sun is rising, which is providing for a little bit of light onto the scene, onto the landscape. However, I'm not shooting wide here. There's not really a great wide angle composition, so having a really crazy nice sky, it doesn't really benefit me up here. But instead, I'm actually zooming in to my different compositions where the light is hitting and going from there. So generally, I'm just looking at where the light's hitting and trying to find interesting compositions around that. Now, there's not always gonna be one. You can't just point where the light is hitting and expect a great photo, but we're kind of waiting to see what the light does here. And it continues to hit new peaks every time that I turn around, so I keep looking so I don't miss anything. Now there is a little bit of a clearing. I'm hoping that this light will hit the dunes, and I'm hoping when it does hit the dunes, it'll be like spotlighted, so it won't be just total light. It'll be like broken clouds, particular spots of light, which should look pretty nice. So we're gonna wait around up here for a little bit. I got nowhere to be until this evening, of course. I'm not sure exactly where I'm gonna go yet. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted and we'll see where we end up, but regardless, we're gonna be hopefully shooting some pretty amazing landscapes. So the light is finally hitting the dunes, so now I can go ahead and grab some shots. I waited long enough for this, and I really want to zoom in all the way to kind of get rid of all of the distracting elements in the background. And this one I'm probably gonna crop further now that I look at it, because I've got some distracting elements on top as well as on the bottom of my frame. But as the light continues to get better, this scene should get even nicer. So it's starting to look really nice. I'm glad I'm here now. I'm in the right spot. So now we just wait for the light and capture photos as it comes and goes. Well, the light has kind of came and gone. Wasn't quite as much or what I was hoping for or expecting. Not really sure if I got any great shots or not. I got a little bit of light on some dunes a little further out, which I think have some potential, but I need a little bit more light, I think. So I may come back here another morning, not tomorrow. I'm gonna do something different, but maybe later in this trip, I might come back here. We'll see. So at this point, I think I'm gonna head back down, get a little bit of Wi-Fi and decide, look at the weather forecast. I always like to look at the weather forecast on a trip like this to decide which direction I'm gonna go. I may go west over to the Eastern Sierra, may go south further down through Death Valley. I'm not really sure yet. Just wanna see what the weather is gonna be doing over the next 24 hours so I can kind of get an informed decision and end up in the place that gives me the best odds at getting some great shots. So I'm gonna go down there. We'll catch up with you guys later tonight. So as you might be able to tell, I'm out here kind of in the mud. I've been kind of walking around, ended up doing a lot more hiking than I probably needed to, but I ended up finding a pretty cool spot here that I'm standing at right now, and I'm shooting right now. I've got my camera behind me. Sorry you can't see. I'm on this like thin ridge and I can't really maneuver next to it. But on my camera here, I'm shooting at about 300. I'm going between 150 and 300. And I'm shooting this thing that's right on the very side of the frame, very right side. And it's like these overlapping hills almost that create layers when you zoom in and have a little bit of compression. I'm really liking the photo because there's this like really nice little like rock that's like this big boulder rock that's like sitting, I'll just show you guys, but it's sitting on the side of this hill, and it kind of just adds a little interest to the scene. It's something a little different, a little out of the ordinary, and adds interest. Additionally, there's a lot of really nice layers in this particular photo because you can see we've got this like foreground hill that's like yellow, then we've got one behind it that's white, and then we've got like a brownish behind that, and then one that's like pure white behind that. So lots of different layers here. Those different colors are really gonna help me in order to create a better image because it's got a lot of separation in it. If all of the hills were the same color, there wouldn't quite be the separation in the image. You wouldn't be able to tell the different layers as well. But I was lucky enough to stumble upon this composition that has many different kinds of mud, or I don't know anything about geology really, but whatever it has, it's got a lot of different kinds and different colors. So that helps to make a really nice photo. You can see also, this is the kind of shot where like right now the sun is behind a cloud, so it's not really shooting that great, but it was really nice a couple minutes ago before I set up this camera here, because the sunlight was kind of providing a little bit of almost glow or warmth into the scene there. This is a scene that definitely shoots good right now because the sun happens to set right behind this scene. It wouldn't shoot good at sunrise, and it also wouldn't really shoot good many other times of year other than right now in the late winter, because that sun sets right behind, so it just looks so much better when the sun is setting right behind it. And so I'm really lucky to have stumbled upon that composition. So I'm going to keep doing some shooting. I might do some more walking around, but this will probably be it for the night. It's a pretty simple night. I ran around, did so many different photos in so many different spots, and ultimately I think this is the best photo spot that I've found so far. So this morning I suspected that there might be a good sunrise because there was a little gap in the clouds, it looked like, on my weather radar last night. So I came out here to Badwater Basin, which you can see is flooded right now. Pretty rare conditions out here for it to be totally flooded like it is. The sunrise is pretty good, so I'm going to keep shooting as I talk here. Essentially right now what I'm doing, I have my telephoto lens on, which might be a mistake, but I'm looking for interesting patterns in the water, which, like I said, might be a little bit of a mistake. Problem is, I was really hoping for like a crazy burner sunrise that lit all the way up to the mountains over there. It hasn't yet. Maybe it will. Right now you can see I've got some nice color over there, kind of in the background, which is really nice. So I'm just using my telephoto lens once again to find some of that interesting light. I could probably slap on a different lens here if I wanted in order to get the reflection as well. But just kind of waiting to see what happens here. Now, to be completely honest with you, this shot doesn't get me all that excited. I don't think the composition's that great, really. It's just a reflection and faraway mountains reflecting some morning light. But I really wanted to see it because I've been out here a lot of times. I've never seen there so much water in the valley. So I wanted to check it out. Thought maybe there'd be a crazy sunrise or something. The sunrise was pretty good. You can see there's still some color over there to your left. And so it's looking pretty nice, but I ended up just shooting a lot of telephoto stuff. I took some photos of a person that was standing over there in the water because I thought it looked pretty cool. So yeah, just ended up taking a lot of different stuff with the telephoto and playing around and looking for some fun stuff. But ultimately, I didn't really get anything that was like crazy good, I don't think, especially compared to the last couple of days. I've gotten some shots that I've really, really liked. All right, well, pretty good morning. It's fun to be out here and just check it out. I am gonna get moving pretty quick here because I do wanna check out a couple compositions and maybe get some nice dappled light because I can see these clouds on another spot a little bit to the north. And I'm gonna head west. We're gonna try and find some more cool stuff later tonight. So we're gonna be on the road again. Here we go. All right, so since this afternoon, I've been hanging out here, Eastern Sierra, just kind of looking at the mountain range here. The clouds have been covering the mountains. As you can maybe see now, clouds are starting to clear, which is creating a really great photo op. There was like 5 minutes where it was just incredible. I was sitting in my truck working on my computer, and there was just like 5 minutes where it was like incredible, the clearing. There was like the perfect amount of fog to create a little bit of, I guess, contrast in the scene. So I captured some nice shots there. Right now, there's still some great clouds to create some really good scenes out there. Right now, getting a good composition is like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, so by being able to zoom in here all the way to 600, it allows me to get rid of all the things that are not exciting in the scene. I know a lot of landscape photographers who the longest lens they have is like a 24 to 105, and their focal length stops at 105. Problem with 105 right now is there's so much going on in the sky that shooting wide just isn't gonna look nice. And when I say wide, 105 isn't wide, but it's certainly wider than 600 or even 300. I got by with my 70 to 300 for many, many years, found a lot of great shots that way, but that's one of the reasons why I love that telephoto lens. I can zoom in and I can cut out what's not interesting in the scene in order to kind of just keep the focus of my scene on what is interesting, what is cool. I don't want to include this blue sky, I don't want to include 10 different things. I just want to include one really like craggy peak and some nice clouds surrounding it. So the telephoto lens has enabled me to do that. So this evening, not a ton happening in terms of light. I knew at this location that the sun sets behind the mountains, which are behind me here. So you get no light on the foreground here. So really what I'm after tonight, again, I'm using my telephoto. sound like a broken record saying that, but I'm using my telephoto again. I'm just looking for some of those like intricate scenes a little closer to the mountain. This is really similar to what I was shooting earlier. Now I'm pretty much shooting the same thing, and I'm just looking at little different formations, looking for anywhere where the fog and the mountain react to create a really cool scene. I'm zoomed in all the way at 600. I've gone between 400 and 600 all evening. And I'm really just trying to find a few good shots here and there. I'm really not anticipating a whole heck of a lot from tonight, but anything that I get, I just consider a bonus. It's just great to be out here. And so we'll see what I get. I've already gotten a few shots that I like, but hopefully I continue to get some more as the sun continues to drop lower and the clouds lose all light. You can see there's still a little bit of light right now, but that is going to be fading away pretty quickly here. All right, guys, well, that'll pretty much do it for the evening. Got some decent shots, better than I expected. We'll see how they look once they're on the computer, but otherwise I'm going to go to bed. We're going to get up tomorrow morning, and we might try and shoot a wide angle location for like the first time this whole trip. So we'll see. We got to have good skies in order for that to work, but we'll give it a shot tomorrow morning. All right, well, unfortunately this morning, it is totally clear outside. You can probably tell that I'm sitting inside my truck, not outside. I already did a little bit of shooting, but it is so windy outside that it was just way too difficult to get this secondary camera set up to get a video. And it's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which isn't that cold, but it ends up being like 25, 30 mile an hour winds. So it's really, really chilly out there. So here I am filming this now that I'm done shooting. Essentially, I just shot some telephoto shots of the peaks here. There's some beautiful peaks catching some really nice early morning light because it is clear. Unfortunately, there's nothing. I was hoping to maybe do something a little wider, but there's just not a good sky for it. And unfortunately, when there's not a good sky, you just don't want to go wide because you're not going to capture an interesting image. It's going to be boring blue sky. You always want to be capturing things that are interesting. Fill your frame with interesting things. So for that reason, I went with a telephoto once again. Shot really similar to what I shot last night. And I'm pretty happy with what I got. I've already shot some telephoto stuff of this particular mountain range before, so I've got some already really similar work out there. But still, I'm out here and it's worth taking out the camera and shooting some shots. So that's kind of what I did this morning. Plan for the rest of the day, I'm gonna head back over towards Death Valley again. It's supposed to be clear there as well. I think we're gonna head to the sand dunes maybe tonight. And I might actually, rather than being up on the hill, I might actually go ahead and walk down in the sand dunes, try and find some cool compositions that way. So hopefully that'll all pan out good. I wanna make sure the dunes are still dry because if they're wet, the compositions aren't gonna look quite as good from up close. So hopefully they're dry. We'll see when we get there. But yeah, today was just gonna be a travel day. We're gonna head into Death Valley again, and we'll meet you on the sand dunes. All right, well, I'm out here at the dunes, final shoot of the trip. Once again, I've got my 150 to 600. I've been out to these dunes before. I probably could have made do with my regular 70 to 300, but I figured since I have it, might as well bring it and we'll see if we can get anything out of the ordinary that I otherwise wouldn't normally get. So I've got this with me. Normally I recommend when you're out on the dunes, bringing a tripod with you, which I have my tripod with me, but putting your camera on the tripod and then carrying it on the tripod as you walk around. That's gonna make it so that it's so much easier to like stop and frame out a composition and shoot something. Now, I am not doing that because normally I would, but I'm making this YouTube video, so I'm carrying around another tripod with my other camera in order to film stuff like this. So I'm just scoping stuff out with my camera, kind of just looking through the viewfinder in order to find scenes that I think would be good. And then if I find one that I really like, then I'll break out my tripod, bring the whole thing up, and then shoot it like that. The other thing to consider is the direction that you're shooting based on whether it's sunset or sunrise. The dunes are usually going to shoot best under sunset or sunrise or like dappled midday light. The thing about these dunes is you've got the sun that sets that direction and the sun rises like that direction. So it's more or less southwest and southeast-ish. Now, I generally don't want to be shooting directly away from the sun is really the one direction I would say you don't want to shoot. So the sun is setting that way right now. I wouldn't want to shoot directly that way because you're not going to get as much depth because you don't have shadows in the scene because everything that you are able to see with your camera is going to be in sunlight. You want some sun and some shadows to create more depth in your scene. So that's one thing that's really important that you want to keep in mind. Part of the difficulty with shooting sand dunes is you don't really know what you're looking for. It's not like many photography spots where it's like, okay, I'm shooting that mountain. Like with sand dunes, you really don't know what you're going after. So there's always a few things that I recommend. One thing I'm looking at right now, maybe you can see in the background, is I'm looking at these stripes in the sand here because they're a little interesting to me. And you can just grab a few shots. Like I said, I always recommend using a tripod, which I'm not. I don't think this is that great of a shot, so I didn't totally set everything up, but just taking a few photos to just kind of show you guys exactly what I mean. Generally what I'm gonna be looking for out here, I'm looking for like sharp lines and nice light, which I'm probably gonna be able to find as I get higher. Generally, you wanna go a little bit higher onto some taller dunes so you can look down. It's gonna be a lot easier to find good compositions than if you are down low on the ground level. It's really hard to find compositions because you're constantly looking up at everything. So if you can get higher up and look down, you can start to find some really nice compositions. As I just look out this way, I can already see there's some nice rolling hills. And so there's a lot of different options. I'm gonna shoot a ton of different stuff tonight. I just need to make sure I get into the right area before I settle down too much. So now you can probably start to see as we get higher, climbing up a little bit taller dunes, there's a lot more possibilities when you look out into the landscape because we're higher up. So now we can see the tops of the dunes where the light is hitting. And then obviously the light's gonna get better and there's gonna be less sunlight as time goes on, which can be good or it can be bad. Additionally, right now, the direction that this camera is pointed, we're looking directly into the sun, which again, can be good or it can be bad. If you are gonna shoot into the sun, usually you need to wait until like the clock strikes midnight basically. You want that sun to be as low as possible. Then you're gonna be able to get a pretty decent shot usually if you have a nice composition lined up. Something shooting this direction is probably gonna be something along the lines of where you've got little rolling hills. You're not gonna have so much of a like probably curving dune with light on one side and shadow on the other, shooting into the sun. If you want that kind of shot, you're gonna need to shoot either north or south. So we're gonna continue walking around and looking, but now I'm kind of finally getting up high enough to the dunes that I can see kind of the lay of the land. Additionally, I wanna make sure I'm walking in the right places because anything I walk over is gonna look terrible if I try and shoot it again because there's now footprints all over where I walked. So I'm trying to take the kind of low ground as much as possible and then hiking up dunes on the side that I'm less likely to want to photograph from. So just something to think about. For a lot of people, that might be a lot to think about when you're first shooting the dunes, but that is something that eventually you will want to think about because you will, probably in your time, you'll ruin a composition or two, which is really tough. So we're gonna keep walking and see what we find. It's proven to be quite challenging to find compelling compositions other than like some macro shots here and there. Having a hard time, I think because of all the rain, it's created a lot of weird textures in the sand, which like I mentioned earlier in the video when I was up shooting telephoto shots of the sand dunes, I thought that it added a little bit to the scene, but now that I'm trying to get some little closer up shots here with my telephoto, it's really making the scenes distracting and it's adding kind of this ugly look to it in my opinion. So I'm having a hard time finding great compositions out here. Nonetheless, I'm still walking around. The sun's gonna set pretty soon. Once the sun sets and there's no more light on the scene, you're pretty much done shooting out here. There's not much else that you can get that looks really visually compelling for the most part. So I will keep walking around, keep looking around as I kind of start to make my way back towards my car. All right guys, the sun has set on the day and on this YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for joining me. What a fantastic trip here in Death Valley. Captured so many great photos, had a lot of fun with this lens. This video is starting to feel like it is a video about this lens. It's not. I just had a lot of fun using it on this trip and it's a new lens to me. So really great, 150 to 600. If you are a landscape photographer, pick one up, pick up something with like super telephoto range. I think you'll find some really interesting scenes with it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you thought I was entertaining or if I was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you didn't think I was any of that, just make sure to like as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Austin James Jackson. We'll see you guys next time.